Hello all, this is Mr. A's guide to creating soundscapes using free software by Audacity and free sound effects downloaded from soundbible.com. A full soundscape or even a single sound effect can really help your audience to imagine that they're somewhere else entirely and not sitting in a theatre with hundreds of other people or sitting on their sofa by themselves at home. We're going to look at how we can mix various sounds together easily to quickly transport our listeners to places in their imaginations. Firstly, we'll need to download the Audacity software to mix the sounds together. Simply search online for Audacity free download. Click the top link on your search results and the Audacity homepage will open. Here you can see the links for the Windows or Mac download. I'm going to click the Windows download for now. The instructions will open and you can find this link right here. This will open the FozHub website. Ignore the advert at the top and just double click on the link that says Audacity Windows Installer. You'll now see it downloading in the bottom left corner of the screen. Once it's downloaded, just click on it and the installer will open. If you're a Mac user, you'll need to click on the Audacity Mac OS DMG link and you'll see it download in the top right corner. After that, follow the on-screen instructions by clicking OK and next a few times and Audacity will open. Pause now and download Audacity. Okay, now that you've downloaded Audacity, we're going to download some sound effects from soundbible.com. I'm going to create a short storm soundscape to fit with a haunted castle type scene, although there are other suggestions for different scenes that you might want to create at the end of the video. Open up your web browser and go to soundbible.com. All you have to do is search for a keyword in the search box on the right here, and then you'll be presented with a list of appropriate effects. You can preview the sound by clicking the play button like so. And once you've found a sound you like, click on the file name and it will take you to the next page. Again, you can ignore the big advert in the middle of the page and look at the two sound file icons on the left. You have the option of downloading an MP3 or a WAV file. Please click on the WAV file as they are better quality than MP3. You'll again see your file downloaded in the bottom left corner or up in the top right if you're a Mac user. I'm going to download a couple of sounds here now. When I'm done, I can click this little arrow and click Show in Folder, and your Downloads folder will open, showing you all the files you've collected. You might want to rename them at this stage because sometimes the sound file names are quite long and messy. You'll want at least one long ambient sound effect that lasts for 30 seconds or more, and at least a couple of shorter spot sound effects that are only 5 to 10 seconds. So pause now and download some sounds. Okay, so back to Audacity. Now that you've downloaded some sound, you can either drag and drop your files from your Downloads folder straight onto Audacity, or simply click up in the top left corner, File, Import, Audio. A window will open up. Make sure it's showing your Downloads folder at the top and highlight the sounds you want to import and click Open. You'll now see that Audacity creates a track for each of your individual sound files. I'm going to shrink them down a bit so you can see them all at the same time. When I do this, I make sure the two sliders for volume and pan can still be seen. I'll come to those in a little bit. Up here, you'll see the magnifying glass to zoom in or out if you need to. This is quite useful if you've got a long sound file. As you can see, I've got two ambient effects that last for about 1.5 minutes each. The first one's wind and rain, the second is ongoing thunder. And then I've got two shorter spot sound effects that are individual thunderclaps that only last for about 10 or 15 seconds. Up in the top left, I can hit the play button and you'll hear all 4 sounds played simultaneously. I can press stop and skip to the start or skip to the end point. I'd always recommend that you hit the stop button rather than the pause button because if you hit the pause button you won't be able to access a lot of the menus at the top of the screen. I always press stop and then skip back to the start each time I change something and listen again. Basic tools. So this video centres around 3 basic tools that are available and will be more than enough to get you started. Firstly, we have the selector tool, which looks like a capital letter I. Then we have the envelope tool, which is 2 vertical arrows, which we use for drawing volume curves. And finally, we have the time shift tool, which is 2 horizontal arrows used for moving things earlier or later in your soundscape. We'll look at the time shift tool first. Simply click on the time shift icon and you can drag your sound files left or right to put them where you want them. I'm going to leave my ambient sounds where they are, but I'm going to move the spot sound effects to the right so they play slightly later in the soundscape. Next, I'm going to grab the selector tool and I'm going to highlight just the first thunderclap from the second track now. You can see it changes colour as I do. Just like any other program, I can click Edit, Copy, or press Ctrl C, then move the cursor to wherever I want to paste it, and I can again either click Edit, Paste, or press Ctrl V. You can even paste onto different tracks, but I like to keep my effects on the track that they were imported onto, otherwise things can get a bit confusing. So I'm just going to click Edit, Undo to get rid of that again. So let's have a quick listen. Skip it back to the start and press play. So we're actually hearing the 2 ambient sound effects now, and I realise my spot sound effects are actually a bit later than I want. I also don't think I really want the second ambient effect to play all the way through, so I'm going to grab my selector tool, highlight the bit I don't want, and press the delete button on my keyboard to get rid of it. I'm also going to grab my time shift tool and shift the spot effects so they come in a little bit earlier. When you're introducing a scene, you want to have some nice loud sound effects for a few seconds, but once the actors start speaking on stage, you want the soundscape to die down a bit so we can still hear it, but so that we can hear what everybody's saying and the actors don't have to shout to be heard. So here it is again. Skip back to the start and press play. Now we hear my rain effects start with the first thunderclap, followed by the second thunderclap, and then after a few more seconds, the third thunderclap. Actually, that third one's a bit quiet, and I think my rain effect is a bit loud. So if we look on the left here, I'm going to boost the gain, otherwise known as volume, for the 4th track, and I'm going to cut the gain for track 1. Skip it back to the start and try again. So here we hear the rain a bit quieter with thunderclap 1, thunderclap 2, and finally thunderclap 3. Something else I can do on the left here is to adjust the pan for each track. This moves the sound to either the left or the right speaker. You'll need to be wearing headphones to appreciate this fully. I don't usually pan 100% to the right or left. I normally go to about 80%, but for the purposes of this video, I'll pan them fully. So this time, my rain and first thunderclap comes from both speakers, then my second thunderclap comes out of the left-hand side, and my third thunderclap comes out of the right-hand side. Okay, so the last tool is the envelope tool. Once you've selected the envelope tool icon, you can click on your sound to draw volume curves. Each time you click, you add a little dot, and you can then drag that dot up or down accordingly to draw your curve. Let me just zoom in a little bit so you can see that a bit better. So I'm going to fade this last sound in a bit, boost the main part of it, that big blue blob there, and then let it fade down a bit, and then back up a bit, and then let it fade out again. And I'm going to do the same on my rain track too, louder at the start to introduce the scene, and then fade it down so we can still hear it, but it won't drown out my actors when they start speaking. Zoom back out. Cool, here we go. Rain and first thunderclap, followed by a second thunderclap on the left, all nice and loud. Then the rain gets quieter before the third thunderclap plays on the right. You get the idea. Saving and exporting. So the last stage is to save our file and export a mix. So firstly, I'm going to click File, Save Project, then click OK. When the window pops up, make sure you check where you're saving your file at the top and give it a name at the bottom. This will save my Audacity file and create a folder for all of the data in the file. The Audacity file will only open in Audacity, so we also need to create a mix of the soundscape that will play in iTunes or Windows Media Player or VLC, etc. So lastly, I click File, Export, Export as WAV, and again make sure you check where you're saving your file at the top and give it a name at the bottom. You'll now have to click on OK, and this other window pops up with more options, but we can ignore those for now and just click on OK again. And you'll see now Audacity will take a second or two to mix your sounds together. So I now have an Audacity file with a folder along with all of my data in it and a WAV file that I can email, upload to Google Drive, etc. That should be all you need to get going. If you really want to play around with your sounds, you can click the effects menu at the top of the screen, and there are plenty of things to play with. I might do a second video to explain some of these in more detail at a later date. I'll lastly leave you with a couple of images now and some suggestions for sounds that you might like to search for that could be associated with that location. Feel free to upload your WAV files to Google Drive along with a screenshot of your Audacity file so that you can share with your Cracks teacher or your classmates. Any problems you run into, do just give me an email. I hope you enjoy this. Thanks very much for watching, and hopefully see you all soon.